not a secret how much free quality information Wager Talk, Sports Memo, and the Gold Sheet produce. And next up, we're giving out the Wager Talk College Basketball Guide. This might be the most informative collection of sports betting info we've ever produced. We're covering returning starters, offensive, defensive, and tempo rankings, recruiting rankings, head coaching info and background, and so much more. Even if you are the casual basketball fan, head over to the Ralph Michaels page and download this amazing guide for free.
And here we go. All right, guys, welcome in here on this December the 23rd. It is Wednesday, a couple of days away from the holiday. Want to wish you and yours a very safe and Merry Christmas from all of us here at Wager Talk and Sports Memo. But we do have a loaded card here today in college basketball. The panel also loaded today as we welcome in for the first time our friend Matt Joseph from sportsmemo.com, filling in for our good friend Ralph Michaels. And, of course, the other two guys on my left or right, I can't figure out which way they're facing right now, but I'm going to say a neighbor in Tony Mejia, and the guy downstairs there, that would be Dave Koken. And these gentlemen, actually from the show yesterday, we were able to sweep the board here with some of our best bets, covering last night what happened, including Tony Mejia taking down the biggest cover of the night there in San Diego State. And, of course, Dave, too, Bradley, great call there in that matchup. 10.5 points is what it was. Ralph had the Citadel, a couple of Central Florida plays. It was a good day yesterday here on the College Basketball Show. And, of course, we are going to try and do that once again here for you today as we're going to be covering a couple of games early in the afternoon. We've got, it looks like, UCLA Oregon going to tip off here at 3 p.m. Eastern, as is Xavier Creighton. Then we are going to hit Rutgers, Ohio State, and the late game for us in this panel, 7 o'clock, is going to be Villanova at Marquette. So we're going to do our best to cover that. First, want to go around the room here, though. I want to start with Mr. Koken here, who is right now, over the last week, guys, there is nobody better than Dave Koken, one of the single biggest profitable handicapper we have at Wager Talk now, 27.6. Net units over the last week. Dave, congratulations, my friend. Another great night also in college hoops for you.
Yeah, it's pretty good right now. College football's been very good. NFL was a split last weekend. College basketball, one off day on Saturday, but it's been good. The last two nights have been back-to-back sweeps. So seem to be in rhythm now, and try and keep it going. I've got one best bet. I only made one bet today. In college basketball. That's up now on my homepage, which is wt.buzz/DC. Also have a bowl game up for Friday. I'm being very selective with the Bulls, which kind of bit me yesterday. I should have played BYU, and I didn't, but at least I didn't lose anything. We'll see if we can keep it going. It's fun right now.
Yep, absolutely. In the groove. And Tony Mejia, congratulations on play last night. San Diego State, St. Mary's all over it. You're right up for our friends at the Gold Sheet. Also, UCF, Cincinnati, great call there. It was a good night for you, man. It's going to be an even better Wednesday here today for you.
I hope so. I mean, 5-0 in basketball play, 2-0 in the NBA, 3-0 in college. And I watched my alma mater get destroyed by BYU, and I was actually rooting against them to get piled on for one more touchdown so my over could come in, and it did not. But we shall press forward with the bowl season. I'm still number one, despite a rocky close to the college football season. So hopefully pick this back up with bowl games. But yeah, you know what Dave said. You have to kind of be selective because with so many opt-outs and guys deciding that this bowl game isn't worth the hassle, you really don't know who is going to play until right before kickoff, since coaches don't have to tell you anything in the college game. So, but yeah, pushing forward, basketball season.
It's going to be NBA kicks off. There's a lot going on, and nobody knows that better than our good friend Matt Joseph, sportsmemo.com, joining us here on the show for the first time. Off to a great college basketball season, 56% currently. Great last 48 hours, too, Matt. 6-1, I believe, on your play. So congratulations. Welcome into the College Basketball Tip-Off Show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been a couple of good days for me in college basketball. hit my college football bowl plays yesterday as well. Nearly 60% in college football this season. Got a couple of bowl plays for today and some college basketball stuff. I like to look for the angles and things like that. And as of late, it's been going well.
Yep, absolutely. And guys, Twitter handles for all of these gentlemen for you to be able to catch up with them and make sure you are following them, because I can assure you great information is being posted all day, every day. Tony Mejia, Dave Koken, at Mid-Major Matt as well. Make sure that you guys are following them. And then, of course, make sure you're hitting that little bell in the upper right-hand corner here and subscribing to the channel here at Wager Talk as we get ready to break down a couple of these big games today in college basketball. Just a reminder, as you heard each of these guys say, plays are up right now, certainly from a college basketball perspective at Wager Talk. Our promo for you today is what we have been talking about over the last couple of days, the ability for you to get an all-access 30-day package in college hoops. As a matter of fact, pretty much any sport, a 30-day, 1-month all-access pass, $40 off right now using the code CBB40 at checkout there. And again, that code will work whether you want to do the NBA, whether you want to do the rest of the NFL and football, whatever it is you want to do, 30-day all access right now, $40 off. Normally $189. Just use that code CBB40. All right, let's take a look quickly at some of the top performers last night, some of these games here, as it was exciting last night. We swept the board here, but we'll take a look at some of these guys and some of these names. And we do this, of course, guys, because we want you to get familiar with some of these top performers there, and it should be no surprise we see Drew Timme there from Gonzaga, who took care of that. I think they're a NAIA, Northwestern State, who I think is playing their third game in a row today, in fact. But good showing by those guys. Some of the covers, we mentioned the big cover there last night was from our friend Tony Mejia, San Diego State and St. Mary's. And I got to ask you, the Hofstra-Richmond game also seemed to be a little bit of a surprise. Dave, was there any one particular game last night you were a little shocked to see?
No, not really. I actually didn't watch much basketball last night. My two games were done early. I had a very early play on VMI, and then the other game was done by middle of the afternoon. And I watched football last night, so I didn't. The beauty of this is you can review the box scores and break them down and find out what took place in the game afterwards. But I'm not going to bullshit anybody. I didn't. The only basketball I watched last night was the late game after everything was done. I watched the Colorado Grand Canyon game, which was actually from T-Mobile here in Las Vegas.
Yes.
But I paid very little attention to college basketball last night, so I can't really give you much of a comment on anything. Other than this, I did watch some of the Texas Tech West Virginia game, and I kind of lambasted Huggins yesterday, and everything I said was borne out last night.
Yes.
I mean, how do you go zone coming out of halftime when the other team's not missing anything?
Yep. Very strange. Did you notice, too, there was not a free throw by Kansas to be seen in that first half of that game? It was very strange. They never made it to the line. And everything you had mentioned about and that we talked about here on the show, and Tony, I'll ask you, it was a strange game the way it started there. It kind of felt like Kansas was there was going to be a time in that game where they were going to be able to pull away. The free throw started to come in the second half, and then it was pretty much lights out about 10 minutes into that second half of the game.
Right. West Virginia made their run. I think took a slight lead or pulled within one. And I saw Self said after the game that his Jayhawks were aggressive, but nobody was thirsty. So a lot of guys ate well, and Kansas prevailed. I had my eyes on St. Mary's, San Diego State, which came down to the wire from a total standpoint. That last minute was a little hectic. I was doing some pacing, and obviously, to me, the best finish of the night was Texas Tech, Oklahoma. The Sooners are able to get not one but two offensive rebounds off of missed free throws there at the end to try to tie the game, and then you get your best player with a bunny, and Austin Reeves makes that shot 95 out of 100 times. Would have sent that game into overtime. Fantastic layup by Mac McClung. I don't know if you guys caught that on the highlight shows, But yeah, fun night in basketball, and obviously I watched both NBA games.
Yeah, McClung was great from the free throw line. Wasn't having a great night shooting, but in crunch time, when it came time to finish, he was the guy you wanted at the line, and he delivered there for Texas Tech. And some of the biggest overs-unders last night, we mentioned a few of them there. That Iowa-Purdue game, two of the highest-scoring teams there in the Big Ten did not make it last night. Purdue missed. They were 3 of 17, I think, to end the game. It was a ridiculous number. They couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat there last night. They had a hard time. But Dave was all over that Bradley game against Missouri. Bradley almost pulled it out. They had 1-point win for Missouri, but, man, that was an exciting finish on that one, too, 54-53. So let's take a look at some of these games here today, guys, and we'll start because we have a 3 o'clock game, 2 3 o'clock games that we're going to break down for you. And we'll start with UCLA and Oregon to go there. Now, Oregon is a different animal at home here, guys, and this is a short number. I'm seeing 2.5s and 3s out there, but we are talking Oregon, just a different team when it comes to playing at home. And I think they've won every game at home this year by double digits. The Bruins, the only true road game this season that they had was against San Diego State. That was a 15-point loss. And they just came off that neutral site game against Ohio State. And they didn't fare too well there. So, Dave, I'll start with you here. Do you give an edge to either of these teams at this point in the season? Home, away, does it make a difference to you in your handicap?
Well, rather than break this game down fundamentally, it's just one of those games, and I'm not betting the game, but I don't know why this line is 3. I thought this line would be 5 because Oregon's a little bit higher rated than UCLA, and they're at home. And UCLA is coming off a game that was not particularly good, and the Ducks are coming off a game that was really good. I mean, I know it was Portland, which isn't much of a team, but they just destroyed them in that game. And they've played very well since losing to Missouri. I mean, Oregon, one game after the next, they had trouble with Washington, but they did win the game. But they're playing really good ball. It's just one of those games where I look at it and it's more a gut feeling than anything else that comes from doing this for half a century, basically, where it just looks trappy, and I can't explain it beyond that. Oregon looks trappy to me at this price. It looks really, if something looks really easy to bet, it usually isn't. And I think that's the case here with Oregon. So for no particular reason, I'll lean UCLA.
Love it. Sometimes that's the best way to go is with your gut there. And Tony, let me ask you. I believe last year UCLA lost at Eugene by 20 or 21 points. It was ugly. I don't anticipate there being that kind of disparity in this game, but how do you have these two broken down today?
The Bruins had won 3 straight prior to that game you just referenced, and so we'll see if Buzz Williams is able to rally these guys. They're a deeper team. One huge factor for Oregon is they lost their center in Fali Dante, who were torn ACL in that blowout of Portland. So they're going into this less formidable than they normally would be, and especially with UCLA having 8-9 deep that they can rely on. I think that's partially what I would handicap as the number being not 5 but 3. And again, you've got these Ducks. It's a relatively new group that Dana Altman has there. So how much does that home court advantage play when Chris Duarte, Eugenio Marui, and LJ Figueroa just got there from different parts of the country? 2 of those guys are East Coast guys. But again, I love Dana Altman. I do favor Oregon. I think it probably ends up as a 3-point game, one of those games where whoever has the final few possessions go their way comes out on top.
And Matt, let me ask you here, man. This is a great game, big game for UCLA. Certainly love to start conference play there with a couple of wins. How do you have UCLA matching up against this Oregon team today?
Well, I mean, UCLA, it's 2 different teams. It's the pre-Juzang and Hill era, and then now when they have their full roster, And as Dave said, it does seem kind of trappy here. You look, it's at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's a lot earlier there. Somebody could come out with a sleepy effort of the two. I do like both head coaches. You know, Dana Altman's a guy that I usually like to back. And Oregon, while they did lose Dante, I like their roster. It's going to also be a pace battle. You know, Oregon wants to get up and down a little bit more. And we know Mick Cronin wants to play this at a snail's pace. So I usually lean to the home team when it comes to a pace situation. I mean, as you guys have said, I lean to Oregon here as the home team, but it seems a little short here. So it scares me a little bit with regards to taking them because it seems too easy to do so.
Man, you know, Tony, I wanted to ask you, too. I'm looking at this number. It opened up at 139. I'm seeing 135 in some places, too. So the under seems to be getting hammered at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll see. You know, I do think if there's a game extension, so if Matt's right and one of these teams comes out a little lethargic, that's going to contribute to an underplay. I mean, and then if it's a tight game down the stretch, we'll get possessions milked. So, you know, from that standpoint, that sounds like a good rationale.
All right, let's take a look at that other 3 o'clock game here today, guys. We're going to be looking at Xavier taking on Creighton there in Omaha. And Dave, the case can be made. Xavier is playing some of the best basketball that we've seen in a while. Creighton coming back, big win a couple of days ago, got back on the winning track. This has got war written all over it here. I'm seeing 7s, 7.5s, even in some places. Is that too big a number in your opinion?
No, I don't think it's too big. I think it's actually a very good number. Xavier's really impressive so far. I honestly wasn't anticipating them being quite at this level, but they're moving up those rankings pretty well. Their only road test to this point was a good one. It was actually in the same city against Cincinnati, so I don't know how much of a home road that is, especially with no fans, but it was still a good win. They're really shooting the ball extremely well. And Creighton's not the best defensive team out there. So, yeah, Creighton better find a way to play a little better defense here. Otherwise, it just might turn into a shootout, and that to me very well favors Xavier. I mean, look, the team's just – I don't know if they're going to maintain these paces, but they're hitting 41% plus on threes. They're hitting 57% plus on twos. Their efficiency on offense is spectacular, and they're doing it without running up and down the court. I mean, they're really exhibiting a lot of patience and just playing really solid basketball. And if they can play that style against Creighton, they've got a really good chance here. The Blue Jays are, they handled St. John's a couple of games back, but you can argue this team's not playing great basketball since the Kansas-Nebraska back-to-back games. I didn't think they were very good against Marquette. St. John's was an easy win. I can't say that, they beat Connecticut, but I wouldn't call it a great win. I don't think UConn's all that good. I think I lean Xavier here. As long as this team's as hot as they are, I don't want to get in their way.
Interesting enough, too, Tony. The Dog 11-3 in the last 14 between these two teams. And, Dave mentioned it. Look at Xavier. Covered its last 4 games. Marquette, Oklahoma, Cincinnati. And we're looking at 7 points here. How do you have these two teams rated right now?
Well, this will be my best bet, so I'll save it for later. But in the breakdown, I mean, you just rubbed salt in my wound.
Sorry,
still fresh there. With Adam hitting the 3-pointer, I got 2.5, and Marquette beat me by 3 with Creighton. But they've hit it on the head in terms of the Blue Jays looking a little shoddy on defense. There's really not a stopper in the group. I mean, Denzel Mahoney plays really hard and is a good two-way player. But this is a team that's not going to back down from a track meet in their own building. It is a very important game for them because they just come off of 2 Big East road games and go back on the road for 2 Big East road games next week. So it's one they almost have to have. But Xavier has played a lot better than I anticipated they would. They've actually cracked the 90-point mark in 3 of their last 5 games, including the last 2. They got 32 3-pointers made over the last 2 games. So it's a team that comes in hot, comes in confident. Should be a fun one.
And interesting enough here, Matt, you got the Blue Jays averaging about 85 points a game. You got Xavier averaging 84. You got a total around 153 here. I don't know where you're looking in this game, but how do you see it playing out when it's all said and done?
So for me, it's almost an insta bet, and I've pretty much hit it almost every time this year. The first half over in Creighton games, and the reason why I like first half overs is I got it 73. You double 73, and of course, there's the fouling at the end that will help in second half. And I know that the last minute or so in the first half gets kind of slow, but you get some value there with the first half over of 73. If you look at home this year, Creighton will take out that first game, which was 60, 76, 77, 84, and 79. And Xavier wants to play a little bit slower, but they get dragged into these faster games. If you look, when they played Eastern Kentucky, now granted it was an overtime game, but 92 possessions in that game. Toledo plays at a moderate pace. They got 72 possessions in that one. And Cincinnati's playing a little bit faster this year. There were some 72 possessions in that one. So to me, I like the first half over here, and I pretty much almost always bet it in Omaha because Creighton just shoots really well at home. And if Xavier starts hitting those threes like they are so far this year, I think that first half over is mighty tasty.
This is going to be a fun game to watch for sure here today, guys. That's 3 o'clock, Xavier Creighton. So if you're watching us live right now, make sure that you, if you're going to go one way or the other, make sure you get it in time. Tip-off just about an hour away. I also want to remind you guys, if you're just joining us, Dave Koken here on the panel today, guys. Number one, the last 7 days here at Wager Talk when it comes to net profits for his clients. Up close to 28% here now, up over the last 7 days. You can head over to WagerTalk.com. Make sure you visit his page right now. He does have a bowl game up there. He's got a college basketball play. He's going to break down the next game, too, coming up for you. But the opportunity to hop on right now. Number one, the last 7 days, nobody's been more profitable for his clients than Mr. Koken. Let's talk Rutgers here, guys, and the Ron Harper Jr. show. And Dave, I'll start with you. Ohio State, Rutgers, another one that I'm looking so forward to seeing this. It's a small number at this point, Ohio State at home. Total right around that 140, 141 mark. Whoever wins this game, going to be in pretty good shape here in the Big Ten, Dave. But this is, how do you see this coming out here at the end of the day?
Well, I think it's the best game on the board today. Potentially, you mentioned Ron Harper, who's just been absolutely amazing, and Jacob Young's playing really good ball for this basketball team as well. They've got a good lineup. Mathis is a nice player. Johnson's a solid player. Mulcahy's okay. They've got a decent bench. There's not much not to like on Rutgers right now. The only thing I'd say I don't like is the fact that everybody's falling in love with them now. Mm-hmm. And I'm just thinking that, this is something that you have to anticipate, is when is it the right time to sell high on a team? And I'm kind of in that mode with Rutgers where there's no question they're a really good basketball team. And I think they are a top 25 team, but I don't think they're quite as good as the level they're playing at right now. And Ohio State coming off the nice win against UCLA. Only the one loss against Purdue, kind of falling between the cracks right now. Nobody's really mentioning much about the Buckeyes. And yet, if you look at the numbers, average efficiency, 6th, I think it's 8th in the country. I mean, they're really running some good offense with their slow pace. Holtman's got them doing what he wants to do. And, they've got some real good talent on this team. It's weird how I think Ohio State is, they're the small favorite in this game. They've got their ranking, and yet for some reason I feel like they're being overlooked a bit right now, and maybe a little too much attention being focused on Rutgers. I like the Buckeyes in this game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I do think Ohio State pulls out the win, and the line's short enough so that I think you can afford taking a chance on laying the points.
We mentioned, and I have to agree with there, we mentioned Young, we mentioned, Harper here, but somebody that's maybe getting overshadowed in this is E.J. Liddell for Ohio State, who missed the Purdue game, had some injuries, came back last week, only logged, I think, 18 or 19 minutes against UCLA. We're talking about the leading rebounder, leading scorer for Ohio State, who's ready to rock and roll. And I don't know, I'm going to ask you there, Tony, when you look at this, do you agree with Dave? Maybe a little overlooking happening right now because everyone's favorite Rutgers is playing?
Liddell's my favorite Buckeye. He's listed at 6'7". To me, he looks about 6'5". He plays about 6'9". Really gets after guys in terms of blocking their shots. I mean, he must be really long-limbed. And a big deal in this game is the Scarlet Knights lost their freshman, Cliff Omarui. He's the only top 50 recruit that Steve Peichel has had during his tenure there. Rutgers obviously doesn't have much of a basketball history. You got to go way back for that. And he's out. So it's a Miles Johnson show. He's got to stay out of foul trouble. So from that standpoint on the road, with Holtman probably manipulating pace, I do lean Ohio State. I'm not going to touch the game. I lean Ohio State in the under. But again, it should be a fun one. Really would have been nice to see Omarui out there for Rutgers, because they're legitimate. Like, people might be falling in love with them, but you watch them play, you realize why.
Yeah, one of the big problems for Rutgers, Matt, last year certainly was three-point shooting, and from the free throw line, they've improved a little bit on a three-point shooting, still having some problems from the free throw line, but they play some defense. How are you looking at this game shaping up today?
Well, my thing with Rutgers is, I mean, last year they were home court heroes. They took care of business at home, and of course the RAC is one of the most underrated college basketball atmospheres in the country when there's fans in there. And then of course this year they get the road win at Maryland, but it all depends on what you actually think of the Terps. I'm not that high on the Terps this year, so this is almost a show me something game for Rutgers in terms of, can you win outside your building in a game that you probably have a chance to win. I mean, you look at, Geo Baker's been only in for 3 games so far this year, and he's still rounding into form. He hasn't shot very well, only 27% from long range, 40% from 2-point range. So once he gets better, the roster itself is going to be better, but I don't know if they're ready to go to Ohio State and win a game like this. So I'll kind of agree with the other guys. I'm not playing the game, but I'll lean to Ohio State in the under here as well.
20-8 against the number, the last 28 at home, Ohio State in this spot. It's going to be a great game. Looking forward to this. I'm with Dave. I think it's the best game on the board here today. At least going to be some of the most entertaining game on the board here today. But I do want to remind you as well with Matt Josephs, who has been on fire here to start the college basketball season. He is now at sportsmemo.com. We're talking about 6-1 the last 48 hours alone, 57% now in his college basketball season. Would definitely invite you guys to head over to sportsmemo.com and check out Matt's page. Plenty of opportunities in college basketball today, and of course throughout the weekend, the holiday weekend here, for you to profit with Matt. Check them out at sportsmemo.com. Late game for us to review here, guys. Villanova, Marquette. Now, you want to talk about a game changer. Marquette's kind of run into a little bit of a brick wall, but boy, oh boy, Dave, if they are somehow able to pull off this win against Villanova today and get themselves back on track, this is the kind of win that could really propel them. I just don't know, with the way Villanova plays defense, I don't know that this is a situation for Marquette where they can look at this game, or this is the kind of team that you can turn it around on. This is a tough matchup for them today.
Yeah, it is. And the problem with Marquette so far, look, the defense is about what we thought it would be. They're going to be an offense-first team. And they're a good offensive team. And you look at their 4 losses, and it's been the same story in all 4 losses to Oak State, UCLA, Seton Hall, Xavier. These scoring droughts that they go through, where they go 4 or 5 minutes with nothing. They just go cold, and they can't seem to generate easy baskets to break those droughts. And that's a real problem against Villanova, because Villanova is just going to keep coming at you for 40 minutes. And I think it's the difference in this game. I think this is a game where you can take 35 minutes of this game and say Marquette will be right there with Villanova. But it's those other 5 minutes when they go cold that I think Villanova's going to get them. And I don't think it's a blowout by any means, but I think the right team's favored in this game, and I'd have to go with the Cats. I think Villanova will find a way to get this one by 5 or 6 points, somewhere in that range. Close, but no cigar for Marquette. I think there's going to be a lot of those games for Marquette, to be honest with you. I just think they're Cotton's a really nice player, but I just don't know that they've got the go-to guy that they had last year in Howard. And I think they're going to have some struggles in the Big East this year.
Yeah. I'm the one thing I can assure you is that Marquette at 5-4. Villanova is going to know that they can't sleep on a 5-4 team here with Marquette, even though they've had some trouble. They've only given up, I think they haven't given up more than 68 points, Tony, in their last 5 games. When it comes to defense, Villanova's going to shut you down when they need to shut you down, especially late in this game. Do you think Marquette's got enough to be able to pull the upset off here?
They've got enough talent, and they'll be home. I mean, Dawson Garcia is going to eventually be that go-to guy, but he's a freshman. And Justin Lewis is young, too. They're going up against Jeremiah Robinson-Earl and senior Jermaine Samuel. So those are grown men. Colin Gillespie running the point. The one thing that you have to look towards if you're backing Villanova is that they don't lose focus. Now, that's normally not a factor under Jay Wright, but they are heading for a 10-day holiday break right after this road game. They're seeing their families socially distant. I read a whole article on it where they're bringing them in shifts. It's kind of wild. But look, Villanova is obviously going to get the job done from a focus standpoint. And if they're there defensively, I do think they take advantage of one of those Marquette droughts and pull off a victory. It'll probably be right around the number. I don't think I'm going to touch it either. But I'm looking forward to Dawson Garcia against Jeremiah Robinson-Earl. That's a two pros in the future type of matchup, freshman and a sophomore.
I don't know who the AD pissed off there at Marquette, but guys, look at this schedule they've had to deal with. Xavier Creighton, UCLA, Wisconsin, Oklahoma State. Now they got Villanova, Matt. It's a murderer's row here for them this early on in the season. But to you, do they have the opportunity to walk away with a victory here at home?
Well, Marcus Howard's not walking through that door. Unfortunately, he's not coming to save him. And last year, I do believe Marquette won both games, so there is some revenge here. Now, how much you believe in revenge angles for games like this, but the one thing I disagree with Tony is we've seen already Villanova's played two true road games. They were losing through parts of the Texas game, and they were getting crushed by Georgetown on the road. So if we do get a potentially unfocused Villanova team and they are down, maybe it's a live betting situation on Villanova. You get a better number here. You get a better situation, especially depending upon foul trouble here. But the Wildcats, when they're focused, they'll beat almost anybody in the country. But we've seen two wins on the road that took a little extra work because they weren't focused all the way through. Especially that Georgetown game. What were they down 20 in the first half of that game? So. Yeah. Villanova's got the talent. They're the better team here, but I'm just wondering, is it a trend that away from home in these true road games, it takes them a little bit of time to get going?
It's going to be a fun matchup.
That's a good point. They did cover that game against Georgetown. Now, are they going to be able to do that against Steve Wojciechowski's team as opposed to Patrick Ewing's? That's debatable. But yeah, Marcus Howard was tremendous. His entire career against Villanova averaged, I think, over 22 points a game in 9 games. So a large sample size. And you're right, not walking through that door.
Yeah, but I tell you who is walking through that door right now is Tony Mejia, and it's all about the Gold Sheet, guys, our friends at the Gold Sheet. And right now, this is really cool. The 24th, 25th, and 26th of December, you can log on for free and get all the basketball information you need over the next couple of days right now by heading over to the Gold Sheet. And Tony happens to be one of the guys there providing the content and making sure you guys make it profitable. We're going to take a look at our Gold Sheet play of the day, courtesy of our friend here, Tony Mejia. And I do want to remind you guys, now would be the time for you to head over to WagerTalk.com. Check out Tony's page. Profits upon profits here, guys, especially with the NBA just starting up now and college hoops. He's got a plethora of information for you each and every day. And Tony, what do you got for us today here at the Gold Sheet Play of the Day?
Well, just not trying to overthink this because I wrote it at 3:34 in the morning last night. Look, Tennessee has been a machine. They've won each of their last 3 games by more than 35 points. This spread's right around 33, and you got an 0-7 USC upstate team coming into town. And what I like about the Vols, and you know this, Joe, they guard you better than most teams in the country. And then they're on the offensive end, it's not sticking because they really don't have a go-to guy. Their leading scorers are averaging just over 12 points a game. They've got 3 of them. So they've got 7 guys, I think, averaging over just around 8 points or more a game. So it's by committee. You figure that 1, 2, 3 of those guys get hot. And again, typically don't like to lay 30-plus points unless you're fading Chicago State. But I'll go ahead and ride with Tennessee and Knoxville here against a winless USC upstate Spartan squad.
Yeah, we've all been on that team. I mean, they're only giving up an average of 51 points a game. I mean, they dismantled St. Joe's, and that was the first time they gave up 60 points. Tennessee can score. Tennessee can play some defense. 34, it's a number, but boy, oh boy, if there's ever a team that can pull it off, it's certainly the way Tennessee is playing right now. And we got a couple of other nuggets for you. We swept the board last night here, guys. So we'll go around the room. And Matt at Matt Josephs at sportsmemo.com. We'll start with you here tonight on your play of the day. Which way are you leaning right now?
Yeah, I like the over for the team total for Seton Hall tonight. Georgetown plays no defense. Georgetown hasn't played defense, I think, since Patrick Ewing was actually a player there. If you look, so far this season, they gave up 94 twice in a row to St. John's, one in overtime, one not in overtime. They gave up 80 to West Virginia. They gave up 78 at home to Navy. They gave up 76 at home to Villanova, and you look at this Seton Hall team, and they are certainly capable of scoring, and they're trying to still integrate guys. You know, Bryce Aiken, they're trying to get some of these guys going a little bit, so when it gets to garbage time, you may see some guys who are still pretty good playing. They put up 86 on Iona at home. They scored 98 in overtime at Penn State. They scored 78 on Wagner, 77 on St. John's, 77 in overtime against Providence. I really like what I'm seeing from Seton Hall in terms of their offense, and I think Georgetown plays very little to no defense. So I'm going over on the Seton Hall team total for this evening.
Love it. And again, guys, make sure you check out Matt at sportsmemo.com. Take advantage of that code we gave you there, CBB40. Get 30 days all access with him with college basketball right now. Get $40 off. Mr. Koken, I have a feeling I know the OSU way you are going here, but just if anybody happens to be joining us, talk to us about your play of the day here.
Yeah, well, I mean, Rutgers could be a little bit depth shy in this game. I think as much as I do like this team, and they've got a great player in Hopper, I think maybe they're a slight sell high stage right now. I think the Buckeyes will get him today. I don't think it's going to be a crush job by any means, but it doesn't have to be with the number being as low as it is. I'll take Ohio State minus the small spot in this game.
WagerTalk.com, guys. Number one in the last week here. Nobody more profitable for his clients than Dave has been. Check him out at WagerTalk.com. Bowl game up. He's got to play tonight in college hoops. You're definitely going to want to check out. Head on over. And Tony, come on, man. I know Tennessee laying 34, but something tells me you got something else up your sleeve here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a little variety. I'm going to have my mid-major Matt Tennant out for this first half of Creighton and Xavier because I want him to hit the over.
Nice.
And then I want both teams to continue cooking into the second half because I'm going to go the over. It came down a little bit, so it was actually 154.5. Now it's down to 153. That's a little scary, but some people don't like to bet numbers that high. I think the way that Xavier comes in shooting the ball with as many three-pointers as they've made, that's a confidence thing that you want to carry forward into a different building. They've got guys, Zach Fremantle, Paul Scruggs, Jason Carter. All those guys can really get going. And again, I referenced it earlier, Creighton is not a team that's going to sit there and stop you defensively. They're more liable to run right with you. I don't think they run for a track meet in their own building. I expect both teams to get into the 80s. I think Creighton pulls it off, but I think we get into the 160s on the total. My best bet is the Creighton-Xavier over.
Love that. And I had one circle because I don't understand the line. It's 17 and a half points, but Western Illinois taking on DePaul tonight. And this isn't so much a support of Western Illinois as it is DePaul hasn't played a damn game. I think they're the last of the Power Six to actually make the court. They haven't even had enough guys to practice. They've been decimated by COVID. And even against the pushover squad like this in Western Illinois, who, by the way, since December is 3-1 against the number against teams, 17 is just too much to lay. I like my chances with the points there at Western Illinois at 17 and a half. Recap, guys. You have Dave Koken, number 714 on the card, guys. Ohio State laying 3. Tony liking that Xavier Creighton over 153.701. Matt Joseph's taking that Seton Hall team total over 77.5. I'm hanging with Western Illinois, and the gold sheet likes Tennessee laying that number 34. And once again, guys, make sure you visit Matt Josephs. Want to thank him very much for stopping by here today on the show. Sports Memo is where to go to get him. That is sportsmemo.com. Make sure you check out the page. Tony Mejia, WagerTalk.com is always my friend. Thank you for stopping by. And Mr. Dave Koken, also at WagerTalk.com. On behalf of all of them, guys, thank you very much. No show tomorrow. We will be back on Monday. So on behalf of all of us, have a very safe and happy Christmas. Make it a profitable weekend. Come back and join us again on Monday. Best of luck, guys. We'll talk to you then.
It's not a secret how much free quality information Wager Talk, Sports Moma, and the Gold Sheet produce. And next up, we're giving out the Wager Talk College Basketball Guide. This might be the most informative collection of sports betting info we've ever produced. We're covering returning starters, offensive, defensive, and tempo rankings, recruiting rankings, head coaching info and background, and so much more. Even if you are the casual basketball fan, head over to the Ralph Michaels page and download this amazing guide for free.